Hello everyone and welcome to our channel Biodiversity and Conservation by Ambika Prasad Research Foundation. So on this free awareness webinar, it is my privilege and honor to share some fascinating insight on the topic medicinal orchids, as it is also we can say as a natural hidden treasure of healing potential. So, as we all are very much aware of that, orchids are often admired for their extraordinary beauty, captivating color, and ornamental value. However, beyond their aesthetic appeal lies an equally remarkable aspects that has remained hidden for centuries and their immense medicinal potentials. So, let's get started and learn some about medicinal orchids and the type of orchids and how we can identify the orchids. So, we will move to our next slide. So before we get into something, we would first like to know about what is orchid and how to identify an orchid and what are the types of orchid. So first we come for the that is what is an orchid. So orchid is a large diverse family of flowering plants from family Orchidaceae. So, as we are all aware of that orchids are monocot flowering plants and that belongs to the world's largest families of angiosperm, as I have told you, Orchidaceae. Then, they are unique in many aspects as they have a diverse shapes, colors, forms, and representing highly evolved flagship species across 750 to 800 genera and about 30,000 to 35,000 species throughout the world. In India, approximate 1,484 species are found, and according to the BSI, it is recorded that the orchid diversity studies are maximum in Northeast India, as it harbors approximate 72% of orchid diversity. As then Arunachal Pradesh has consistently been reported as the richest orchids bearing state in India. So if we talk about on the range wise that in which state of India it is more prominently found and has the richest diversity, that is first is Arunachal Pradesh, then comes to our Sikkim, then Meghalaya, then Assam, Nagaland, Manipur, West Bengal, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Tripura, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh. So these are some rank-wise states are there, which is abundantly the orchids are found and has a great diversity of it. Then comes to our how to identify an orchid. So first check for the zygomorphic flower. So for zygomorphic flower, you will see that in this slide I have shown two flower photos and the distinguished mean character like which one is petal, which one is sepal, and which one is lip or labellum. So for that, check for zygomorphic flowers. So zygomorphic is basically mean is that it represent a bilaterally symmetrical flower that can be divided into two equal as in mirror image halves along only one specific vertical plane. So for that, you can identify that. And then comes to a second one that is present of distinct lip, labellum, or you can say spur. It is one kind of distinct character of a lip. Then comes to the observe the column structure instead of separate stamen and pistil. As you can see in the first, the flower of Vanda testata, here I have pointed out the column. So the orchid will represent the column section and then comes to the leaves are often thick, leathery and parallel in vein. So these are some of the characteristics which you can identify in orchid and can differentiate it from the other flowering plants. Then comes to the our types of orchid. What are the types? So basically the types are of four types. That is epiphytic, terrestrial, lithophytic, and saprophytic. So epiphytic are mostly grow on trees. Usually they are not parasite. They only take as a host plant of a trees to support their plant. And in terrestrial, it grows in soil on the ground. Terrestrial, or you can say ground orchid also. Then comes to the lithophyte. So they grow on rock or rocky surfaces area. Then comes to the saprophyte. The name itself shows its meaning as a leafless or scale leaf orchid which takes nutrients from fungi and grown mostly underground. So these are some of the basic orchid uh, information. Then comes to our next slide. So now we will talk about on monopodial and sympodial. What are these two are? These are the growth habit of an orchid. So the growth habit is monopodial. That it simply means that the stem have single growth points and the top of the growing stem never ending in an inflorescence. As I have told this now, you can see in the monopodial section it has a single growth point. It is not even shattered in another branches. It is only has a one single growth point and the growing stem never ending in an inflorescence. You can also see that the inflorescence are not end at the end of the stem. Then comes to the both of the drying stem become leafless. Bottom of the drying stem. As you can see at the bottom side of that monopodial, the stem bearing has a leafless or is that is color is become yellow in color. So that is leafless. Then comes to the aerial root rooting all over the stem. In stem, you can also see that there are some emerging of roots in every part of the stem. Then leaves opposite or from within the leaf axil. So these are some of the characteristics of the monopodial growth habit of an orchid, and the genera comes under this is Acampa, Erids, Lucia, Rencostylis, and Vanda. So these are some specific genera that comes under this monopodial growth habit. Then comes to our sympodial growth habit. So sympodial is basically stands for the stem has a determined growth and later every year give rise to one or more similar shoots. So separate leaves and flowering shoots are there. So basal part of the leafy shoot basset with reduced leaves rooted mostly at the nodes. Apical parts of the leafy flower shoots and leafy shoot respected as separate leafless shoots. So you can see in the sympodial also, it has the inflorescence part is separated from the main stem, as in from the main shoot. So it has a determined kind of growth where it has a separate leafy structure, leafy base is there, and another is a flowering shoot. So it differentiated from it that the sympodial is different from the monopodial. Then from sympodial, the example of it is the genera comes under is mostly dendrobium or bulbophyllum and some others are there. Then moving to our next slide. So as I have told earlier that we have four types of orchids are there, that is epiphytic, terrestrial, saprophytic and lithophytic. So epiphytic, for that usually they take supports from a tree as a host plant. They never take nutrients from that host plant. They take nutrients or some water content from the air itself. So for that, every orchid have a velamen. So velamen is nothing but a multi-layered tissue composed of a dead cell, or you can say specialized spongy outer root layer in orchids that absorb water, store nutrients, and protects the roots from environmental stress. So this is how they survive from the environmental stress by taking nutrients from the air through the velamen. Then comes to our next one. So, according to the field survey and literature survey, we can conclude that which part is majorly consumed for the food and medicinal purposes. So, these three are basically being used, that is tubers and leaves and combs. So, these three parts are basically used for the food and medicinal purposes. Then comes to our next slide. So basically, we collect the orchid species, as in from the fallen orchid or the dried orchids that is separated from its host plant through a windy air or through some like intervene from another mammals or something. The reasons for that they are being fallen down. So for that, we collected that and we restored them in a very specific places where it can grow without any disturbance. So you can see from these three photos, these are all the fallen orchids or you can say dried orchids. Then comes to our next one. So first we will like to talk about on the epiphytic orchid. So epiphytic orchid is also called as a air orchid because the plant that is usually grow above the ground, and usually the host plants are mostly the tree species without being parasite on that tree species. So we so that they get nutrients and a cool climate and like not getting disturbed from other anthropogenic activity. So for that they can you can see in this photo it is all an epiphytic orchids. So now let's move to our next slide. So first we will talk on our first epiphytic orchid, that is Vanda testacea. So Vanda testacea, the flowering period is majorly from April to May and it lasts for about only 2-3 weeks. And it stays longer than that, but maximum it is 2-3 weeks. And for that, the medicinal purposes of this specific orchid is used as a leaf part. The leaf part is used to treat the cuts and wounds. As I have specifically through field survey, I have documented this that this Vanda testacea is used for the cuts and wounds. Then moving to our next one. Then comes to a second one, that is Vanda tessellata. Vanda tessellata is also seen at the month of March to May, just between or same as a Vanda testacea. The time period is maximum somewhat same. And you can see in this photo, I have given two different kind of color of an orchid, but it totally same species and same genus. It doesn't differentiate from it because the Vanda testata itself has a two or three or maximum three types of color variation of this are there. So sometimes it is totally brown and sometimes it is yellow or sometimes it is between them. So that's how you can differentiate it. And another one is that for this orchid, the medicinal properties is for that is used for the leaves part. The leaves is majorly used for the treat to ear edge and wounds. So this is also I have specifically seen from the field survey. through tribal communities, if they get any ear pain or wounds or cuts, they basically use the leaf part, as in they make the paste and apply it in that specific areas. Then moving to our next one. Now, next one is Dendrobium anceps. So, for Dendrobium anceps, the flowering period is majorly from November to April. And for the medicinal properties, the leaves part is used. So, the leaves is the mode of action is a paste and is used to treat for the inflammation. Then move to our next one. Cymbidium aloifolium. Cymbidium aloifolium is majorly seen at the month of April to August, and for the medicinal purposes, the root part is majorly used. The root part is used to treat paralysis. Then, apart from medicinal uses, it also significance as a very great ecological benefits are there. Like sometimes, if you see any perennial stream or any or any moist areas, this specific orchid is definitely found in that area, because you can say it is one kind of indicator of an perennial stream. So at the very if any good forests are there, then this specific orchid will be definitely be there. Then comes to the next one, Dendrobium nobile. So Dendrobium nobile is majorly seen at the month of March to May, and the leaves part is used to treat for the digestion problem. Then comes to the next one. So next one is Acampa pramosa. So Acampa pramosa is majorly seen at the month of October to December, but it is also been reported and seen as a March to April. So in this specific months, this particular orchid is found, and for that the leaves are majorly used to treat arthritis or sometimes also cuts and wounds. Also, this orchid plays a significant role in that. So, also in the field survey, I have also documented this specific orchid and their uses from the tribal communities. Then comes to our next one. So this one is Aerids odorata. So Aerids odorata is majorly seen at the month of May to July, and for the medicinal purposes, the leaves are used to treat joint pain. So before we get into their medicinal properties, so I would like to tell you that it is also being used for the perfume purposes. So in many industrial areas, they pluck or they collect this particular orchid flower and use it for the perfume purposes. So it has a very like fruity kind of smell. So if you means this is in this year, in July or in this specific period of time, flowering time, if you visit any forest and you can sense or smell some fruity kind of smell odor, then this specific orchid must be blooming beside you. So then move to our next one. Comes to our Dendrobium herbaceum. Dendrobium herbaceum is mostly occur at the month of October to March, and for that the leaf are majorly used for the stomach disorder. So at the time of flowering, it doesn't have any medicinal values for it, but at that when the leaves are present, then the flower will be not there. So it is like you have to spot in that particular area that yes, in these places the Dendrobium herbaceum flowering is going on. So after 2 3 months if you come, then you will see the leaves uh, are protruding. So for the medicinal purposes, the leaves are beneficial to treat the stomach disorder. And also the Dendrobium herbaceum is maximum found at the higher altitude areas. Then comes to our next one, Aerids multiflora. Aerids multiflora is happens at the month of April to June, and for the medicinal values, the leaves part is used to treat the arthritis in the form of paste. So sometimes the researchers get confused, as in the new researchers, when they are firstly studying on the orchid diversity. So whenever they see a flower from the from the far that it is pink in color, so they presume that it is a Rhencostylus retusa, as in foxtail orchid. But no, these two are very specific and very differentiated from one another. Just looking from afar and it looks like a pink in color doesn't differentiate like it is the same genera or same species, because the two are very different kind of orchid. So as you can see from this first photo, it is Eris multiflora. So if you see in this in forest, so it is better to look closely through it, because sometimes Eris multiflora is also somewhat similar in looking from a distance, that is from a foxtail orchid. So for Eris multiflora, you can see the lip part. You can see the lip part as it is long in size, and the color variation also different. Then moving to our next one. So now we will talk on Rhencostylus retusa. So Rhencostylus retusa is also called as the foxtail orchid, and it happens at the month of May to July. And apart from the medicinal and culture, the like ecological significance, it also hold as a cultural significance, because it is a state flower of Assam. And as in Assamese culture, the orchid is intrinsically linked to the Rongali Bihu as the spring festival, and the young women or maximum adorns their hair with this long cascading pink and white inflorescence during the traditional dances, as it symbolized love, fertility, and merriment. So as it is a state flower of Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, so it also holds as a cultural significance of it. So for the apart from cultural significance, it also holds as a medicinal properties, like the leaves part is used to treat the cuts and wounds. So these are, as I have told earlier, that you can see here that how much it is differentiated from the Arids multiflora, and how you can differentiate it through it. That's why I have given the floral structure, or you can say inflorescence part close up, because so that you can differentiate it, that how you can identify it, because from afar if you look through it, it always look like pink in color, like pink and drooping in size. So it is same, but what makes this different is the flower pattern you can distinguish from it. Then move to our next one. Then comes to our Dendrobium aphyllum. Dendrobium aphyllum happens at the month of April to June, and for the medicinal purposes, the leaf part is used to treat the headache. So, whenever the flowering season is come, so on that period of time, it doesn't have a much medicinal properties on them. But after the flowering, when the leaves are emerged, then that time it shows the medicinal uses to treat such as headache, and others aspect are there, but some from some medicinal uses, these specific terms are being used for that. Then comes to our next one. So that is Foliodata imbricata. Foliodata imbricata, the another name for this orchid is a jewel orchid. So why we call it as a jewel orchid? So as in first photograph you can clearly see the flowers are drooping downwards, which make this as a jewel kind of thing. Like it's showing such as jewel and jewel in beads you can say. Then the flowering is mostly occurred at the month of March to August. And you can also see that the pseudobulb, as I have talked earlier about sympodial growth habit, so this you can properly see over here, the inflorescence and the like leafy shoots are very much separated from one another, and for that the pseudobulb is like used for the medicinal purposes to treat rheumatic disorder. Then moving to our next one. So Bulbophyllum crecipes, as this is also a sympodial growth habit. So it happens at the month of September to November, and the flowering is only last for 1 week, or you can say less than a 1 week. So whenever the flowering season comes of this particular orchid, you better see the before or within the 1 week, because after that it will be dried in form. So you can also see here that the bulb part is majorly used for the medicinal purposes to treat stomach disorder. So for this particular orchid, I can also say that it has a very good amount of medicinal uses. Like I have personally consumed this particular orchid at the time of the field survey. From the tribal communities, I came to know about its medicinal properties. So then comes to our next one. So next one is Dendrobium formosum. So Dendrobium formosum is happens at the month of April to June, and the for medicinal purposes the leaves are majorly used to treat the skin diseases, and sometimes it also has a good impact of the pollinators on them because of the showy and the fragrance of this particular orchid. Then comes to our next Papillon theteris. So it happens at the month of February to June, and the leaves, as you can see in the right side, I have given the leaves part and the flower, where it is the leaves is majorly used to treat bone fractures. So moving to the next one. So, as we have talked like medicinal uses and how some cultural and for the industrial purposes, some are used in the epiphytic orchid. So now we will talk about on our terrestrial orchid, that is orchid that grows in the ground or in the directly in the soil rather than on trees or rocks. So first our terrestrial orchid is Zeuxis dramatica. So Zeuxis dramatica is mostly seen at the month of January to March. And for this, the root part is used for the medicinal purposes to boost the immunity. So you will basically see this particular orchid at the rice field area or the area which has a less competition. Like not a tree species will be there, shrub will not there. So this particular species if not there, then this particular orchid can be found. So majorly it founds at the rice field area. I personally collected and I have majorly seen in many areas of Odisha, where I have seen that this particular orchid is majorly and preferably grow at the rice field areas. Then moving to our next one. So fire stankerville. Fire stankerville, the for it mostly seen at the month of April to August, and for the medicinal purposes, the tuber are used to treat like to boost the immunity system. Moving to our next one. Here you can see the Crepidium macannoni. So Crepidium macannoni is majorly seen at the month of July to September, and uh, the majorly you can see from the first photo that how are the habit and habitat of this particular orchid, like it is moist and dry leaves are there. So after the rainfall or after the like have a rainy season, this particular orchid can be protruding from that in a high altitude area. So for the medicinal purposes, the tuber are used to treat dysentery. Moving to the next one. So Peristylus constrictus. So Peristylus constrictus is happens at the month of July to August. So for this you can see the tuber part is majorly used to treat malaria. And apart from medicinal uses, it has also shown that it also used for industrial purposes. So in industrial purposes, because the flower has a very good kind of aromatic smell, like they use it for the perfume purposes. So the Peristylus constrictus is also used for the industrial, or you can say economic purposes. Then moving to our next one. Then comes to our Habenaria comilinifolia. So Habenaria comilinifolia is seen at the month of August to October, and for that the whole plant paste is used to treat skin diseases. So you will also basically found this particular orchid in an rice field areas at the month of August to October. So if you will see at the edges of rice field area, these particular orchids are grown at that particular places. Then comes to our Geodarum lexiflorum. It like happens at the month of June to July, and for the medicinal properties, the tuber part is used to treat joint pain. I have also collected this information through a tribal communities, like how they use the medicinal properties of this particular orchid. So uh, there are always has a confusion on Geodarum densiflorum and lexiflorum. It only makes a differentiated from the flower pattern and also color variation. As in Geodarum lexiflorum are totally pink in color, and Geodarum lexiflorum has a pink and white type of color. So these are what makes it different from the other species. And it is also that whenever you will search this particular orchid for medicinal purposes, so you can also see at the high altitude area and at a very at the very moist places also. Then moving to our next one. So, as we have talked some of the terrestrial medicinal orchids, so now we will talk on saprophytic orchid. So, saprophytic orchid is basically from the name itself, it indicates that leaflets, or you can say it take nutrients from another species, like another fungi. It gets depend on them, and they get nutrients from them. Then moving to our next one comes to the Epipodium roseum. So Epipodium roseum is happens at the month of April to September, and the flowering is only last for 1 week, because after that it will shades all these flowers and you will see only the stick, or you can say the stem of it. So it is hardly been differentiated, you can identify it. So before that, if you visit any forest and at the high altitude area and a very moist places, so these particular orchids are found. And For that, because it is very much hard to like locate this particular orchid, so it doesn't have many medicinal uses, but it has some information like it is used to treat sickle cell anemia. So these are some of the medicinal properties of a saprophytic orchid. Then moving to next. So basically, all this data that I am documenting, or you can say presenting over here, is through the ethnobotanical surveys. So to collect any of the information about some medicinal uses or has cultural significance or economic or ecological, for that the first point will be always ethnobotanical surveys. So from that you can get to know that what other people that are residing in the forest or nearby forest, they are much more aware of you and how they can use that particular plant species, and they have a very much like a treasure kind of thing, that is indigenous traditional knowledge that they have, that is passed down through their generations by generation by their ancients. So, so these are some of the things that we should first do before documenting any plant species. So the field survey is the first one, then comes to the literature survey. Then after that, we can go for the scientific validation. As to tribal claim, we can scientific in a validate manner. So, as I have told earlier, that which orchid species has a medicinal uses. So here you can see these tribal communities, as he is from the Munda community. He is one of the Munda is a tribal community. So he collect the orchid leaves and he using it for his cuts and wounds. As you can see in the third plate, his leg has been being injured, and for that he used this particular orchid in terms of like decoction or paste. He totally like put it over there and leave it for about whole day, and it will take time, but it will be definitely show its result. So this is the Vanda tessellata orchid. Then comes to our next one, that is Vanda testacea. As I have told, that is used to treat cuts and wounds. So from these tribal communities, I have collected this information that the leaves part is used to treat the cuts and wounds. Then comes to our another one, that is Acampa promosa, as I have told. So he is an forest officer, forest watcher. So he use this particular orchid to treat inflammation. And as I have told in the plates where I have talking about on the epiphytic orchid, that is Bulbophyllum crucifix. So as I have told that the pseudopulp part is used to treat stomach related problems. As you can see in the first plate, he is an forest watcher. So whenever he goes inside the forest, he particularly took this kind of orchid and consumed it raw to get relief from the stomach problem. So as I have also consumed this particular orchid, I can also say that it doesn't have any taste, like it doesn't feel salty, sour, or any sweet kind of texture, but it only gives you the like fibery kind of texture. So it helps you get release from the stomach problem. So in the third plate, you can see the two people are standing. So they are both the traditional healers from the tribal communities. They specifically like collected this orchid or consumed this orchid at the time of the stomach problems. Then moving to a next one. So here you can see he's in tribal community and he particularly collect this Geodarum lexiflorum tuber to treat the joint pain. So as we have talked about on epiphytic orchid, terrestrial orchid, saprophytic orchid, now move to our pollinators and visitors of orchids. Like orchids have a very distinct kind of character as it shows a vibrant kind of color and it has a beautiful kind of aroma, so it normally attracts many kind of visitors and pollinators. So now let's see. So these are some of the visitors of orchids. So you can see in the first plate, the spider is there. The spider doesn't pollinate the orchid, but it uses the orchid as a hunting mechanism stage. So for that, it camouflage in that particular orchid, so it can like targets its particular prey and consume them. So it kind of a hunting mechanism stage for them. So these are some of the visitors of orchid. So here you can see pollinators of orchid. So first one is that the insect getting hydrated from the velamin. As I have told earlier that what are the velamin and how it has a very like a specialized kind of tissue is there which stored nutrients, water and some other aspects which makes it for insect or any other mammals to consume this particular orchid species. So in other plates you can also see the spider web their houses on orchids and mantis also on the orchids. They take for the hunting mechanism stage. Then comes the next one. Here you can see the orchids have a relationship with their pollinators, as one of the pollinator can pollinate a specific orchid species. So if one orchid is there, then it has a very specific kind of pollinators is there, and the pollinators can be bees, wasps, ants, and flies. So these are the some of the pollinators. So here you can see in the wild the orchid ant relationship. So mostly the plant offers nectar as a reward and in return the plant acts as a bodyguard as it patrols the flower and protects the birds and blooms for destruction from herbivores and other plant eating insects. So it acts as the only bodyguard, but it doesn't pollinate such orchids. Then here you can see the ecological significance. So in the first plate you can see that the common squirrel is consuming the root of Cymbidium alvifolium because the root itself has a stored nutrients or water content which makes them survive in the harsh or environmental stress. So in also forest areas, when you will see a giant squirrel, Indian giant squirrel, they particularly consume the leaves of the orchid. So I have personally seen that the Indian giant squirrel consumed the leaves of the Vanda tessellata at the month of summertime. So they consumed it to uh, means they get stress relief from the summer areas, sorry, summer days. So these are some of the ecological significance of orchids. So now we will talk on economic uses of orchid. So in Odisha, in Adivasi Mela, many people come over here and sold the orchid species. So I came to know some of the species they are solding over here in some specific range. Then in also Manipur also the flowers are also sold in that particular area. So the for Manipur the photo credit goes to Rajkumari Supriya Devi. So thank you for listening and I sincerely hope that this like PPT will provide valuable insight into the unexplored therapeutic potential of medicinal orchids and emphasize the urgent need for their conservation. So thank you very much. Hope you will like the channel. Thank you.